Okay, started. So lubrication technology started from the experiment of Tower. The experiment of Tower did an experiment in 1883. What experiment he did? He did an experiment in journal bearing. So this is a bearing. So inside that, let's say this is the journal. Okay. So earlier, when journal bearings were designed, people used to take, suppose a load is acting on this, this is rotating. This is rotating. Suppose with speed omega, and a load is acting on the center of the journal. Let's say load W, and this is the diameter of the bearing, and this is the diameter of the journal. So diameter of the journal, let's say D. Okay. Now length of the journal, let's say L. Okay. So while designing, even you find in design books today, this W load supported by the journal equal to your projected area, which is L into D. This is called projected area. The area projected from here to here. That is the projected area into the pressure. So this pressure is called as bearing pressure. So this bearing pressure, this is something like what people used to believe, that this pressure is something like constant. From here to here, this pressure is almost constant over the diameter of the journal, which is P. Now, this way, load is somebody's microphone is on. Can you please mute it? Check everyone. Otherwise, I have to mute all. Then you cannot ask actually questions. Shubham sir, can you switch off your microphone? Shubham. Okay, I switched it for him. Probably he is not there, which is now happening anyway. So now let us come back. So this W load is supported by projected area, as I say, and this bearing pressure. But the experiment of Tower, what he did in 1883, he did this experiment in a half journal bearing, which is like this. He did the experiment where this top part was not there. Okay, so half of the 180-degree journal bearing. In this 180-degree journal bearing, what he found, that the pressure here is something like this. That means the pressure acting is something like this. Pressure is not constant. This is the pressure which is maximum here and 0 at the ends. So pressure is varying from 0 to maximum here and maximum here and then 0 at the right end. So this is a kind of a pressure profile. So this pressure acting over the area actually supports the load. This was found by Tower in his experiment in 1983. But there was no theory to support this experiment. Actually, to find out this pressure profile, there was no theory. So in 1886, Reynolds derived the theory to support this pressure. So let us see how he derived this theory. So derivation of Reynolds equation. Reynolds equation. So in this derivation, if you take any space where a plate, you are dragging a plate basically with a velocity, as we discussed last class, capital U, and there is fluid present here, which is having a height of h. Then take any elemental volume here. This is a control volume. So now let us zoom it. So let us zoom this volume here. So this side is dy, this side is dx, and this side is dz. This is elemental volume. Now the pressure acting in this left face is P dy dz. In the right side, it will be P plus del P del x to dx. This is the incremental pressure dy dz. Then suppose shear stress is acting tau, then it is tau dx dz, and in the top it is tau Okay, so this is the pressure acting left and right face, and bottom and top there is shear stress. So bottom shear stress is acting tau dx dz, and top after a distance of dy, the shear stress changes to tau plus del tau upon del y into dy whole into dx into dz. Now if you write the equilibrium, equation of equilibrium in x-axis, then we will write okay. So this is the equilibrium equation in x-axis. Now if you simplify a bit, so this will become del tau upon del y equal to del p upon del x. Now you know from the last class also we are discussing. Now this tau equal to eta del u upon del y. So using this, you can rewrite this equation. Okay, so this is the equation in x-axis, x direction. Let's say equation 1. Similarly, you can write another equation in z direction. So z direction equation will become del p upon del z equal to del y whole into eta del w by del z. W is the velocity in z direction, velocity component in z direction. Now you have two equations here. Now use boundary conditions. In this expression, if you see, this is y equal to 0 and this is y equal to h. So there are two ends, bottom and top. In this bottom and top, we can use boundary condition, something like this. At y equal to 0, u equal to 0, velocity is 0 because the bottom is fixed, and also w is 0. We are not taking any velocity in z direction. Now at y equal to h, your u equal to capital U and also w equal to 0. So no velocity in z direction. Now using these two boundary conditions and integrating the equation 1 and 2, equation 2 you integrate and use these boundary conditions. So you should be arriving at this. From equation 1 you will get these are two velocity components you will get in x and z. That is the velocity u and velocity w in the fluid film. Now from these velocities you can very well calculate the flow in x and z direction. So now the flow So let's say Qx, flow in x direction, equal to integration from 0 to h u dy. Similarly, Qz, the flow in z direction, equal to 0 to h w dy. Now use the expression of u and w from here and integrate to find out Qx and Qz. So Qx will become minus hq by 12 eta del p upon del x plus capital U h by 2. Similarly, Qz minus hq by 12 eta del p upon del z. Okay, these are two flow components in x and z direction. Now we know for steady flow, del qx upon del x and del qz upon del z equal to 0. So if you use this steady flow condition in this qx and qz, substitute here, then finally you will arrive at equation like this. Del by del x okay, you will arrive at this equation. So this is the final form of equation what Reynolds derived. Okay, now here the first term number 1 and this is the second term and this is the third term. So first term is a pressure induced flow. Because of pressure induced flow, which is known as Poiseuille term. Poiseuille term. The second one is velocity induced, known as Weiss term or Couette term. And the last one is stretch term. And in most of the cases, this U doesn't vary. U is normally constant. So if U is constant, then your last term goes out. Okay. Then final form of equation that you are going to get. This is the expression derived by Reynolds for 2D steady state flow for thin film lubrication. 2D steady state flow. This is 2D steady state equation, Reynolds equation. Derived by Reynolds, and this equation very well explain the phenomena found by Tower in the experiment. That means this theoretical expression could describe, if you go back, the kind of pressure that Tower found in his experiment. So the lubrication technology therefore started from this equation. Okay. So after that, see the equation derived by Reynolds is a steady state 2D fluid flow equation. So after that, people thought the classical equation that you can find from any fluid mechanics book, that is Navier-Stokes equation. So later on, people derived the same Reynolds equation from starting from Navier-Stokes equation, so that they can have a link. So how they derived from that? Let us see again derivation of this equation starting from Navier-Stokes equation. But Reynolds did not derive from Navier-Stokes equation. Reynolds derived from that control volume approach. So if you get hold of any fluid mechanics book, the classical form of Navier-Stokes equation is something like this. This is Navier-Stokes equation in X. So similarly, you can write the Navier-Stokes equation in Y and Z direction. I am not writing here. This is very standard. You can find any fluid mechanics book. Where is this capital D stands for? I am writing that This is everywhere capital D stands for, which is a inertia term. Now, these are three equations. Another equation will be there in this Navier-Stokes equation, that is this is a continuity equation. What these equations are called? First three equations, these are called momentum equation. And the last one, this one is continuity equation. Okay, so there are basically four equations in a Navier-Stokes equations. Three continuity and three momentum, one continuity equation. Now in this full form, from these equations, we have to derive the Reynolds equation. So Reynolds equation is applicable for thin film. So there has to be some assumptions. So now assumptions has to be made. So assumptions of thin film lubrication. Okay, now there are 7 classical assumptions of thin film lubrication. If you want to write down, you write. I can just tell about these assumptions. The first one is inertia and body forces are negligible compared with the pressure and viscous terms. So inertia and body forces are negligible compared with pressure and viscous terms. So are you getting it? Anyone? I am not writing this. You can write down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I can repeat twice for each assumptions. If you want to write, you write down. There are classical 7 assumptions. So first one, inertia and body forces are negligible compared with the pressure and viscous terms. That means inertia term is not there. Now assumptions number 2. The fluid is thin. The fluid film is very thin. So if it is thin, then there is no variation of pressure across the fluid film. The fluid is thin. There is no variation of pressure across the fluid film. Across the fluid film is y direction. So that means this implies that del P upon del Y equal to 0. So there is no variation of pressure across the fluid film. So now assumption number 3, there is no slip across the fluid boundaries. So there is no slip across the fluid boundaries means both bottom and top, as we draw a picture, let us go back here. If you see both bottom and top, your velocity, so at the bottom u equal to 0, at top u equal to capital U. So that means the fluid layer adjacent to the top will attain the velocity capital U, and the fluid layer just adjacent to the bottom will attain the velocity equal to 0. So that means there is no slip across the fluid boundaries. Now number 4, no external forces act on the film. So no external forces directly acting on the film. Now number 4, and then number 5, the flow is viscous and laminar. Okay, which is very standard. So number 6, the derivatives of u and w with respect to y are much larger than other derivatives of velocity component. Okay, so derivatives of u and w with respect to y, u and w with respect to y are much larger than other derivative here x and z. This is x and z of u and w. Okay, so derivatives of u and w with respect to y are much larger than other derivatives of velocity components. Now 7, last one. The height of the fluid film should be very small compared to the length of the contact. So what do you mean by that? So let us go back to the picture. Yeah, in this picture. So it says the height of the fluid film. So what is the height of the fluid film? Height of the fluid film is this narrow gap. This is h throughout. This narrow gap is the height of the fluid film. Okay, across the film. This h, it is saying, is much larger. Sorry, smaller. It is much smaller than the length of the bearing. So length of the bearing is L. You can see here. This is the length of the bearing. So it is much smaller than the length of the bearing. So typically, for a thin film lubrication, typically this H by L is in the order of less than or equal to in the order of 10 to the power minus 3. Okay, which is very small. So if it is so, then only you can say it is thin film. Once this is satisfied, this condition is very important, because all other assumptions are also, some of the assumptions are also based on this condition. This is a thin film lubrication. Now using these assumptions, your Navier-Stokes equation will become like this. So neglect inertia terms and other, use all the assumptions, you will find Navier-Stokes equation like this. Okay, so these three are momentum equations. Along with, you will get your continuity equation. Continuity equation. Okay, these four equations you got in after using the assumptions. Now integrate these equations. Out of this equation is no more needed. This equation is no more needed. So you are left with only two momentum equations here. So integrate these two momentum equations. Integrate these two momentum equations with respect to y. Then you will get You integrate these two equations with respect to y twice. 2 times you integrate. So therefore you are getting here two constants, C1, C3, C2, C4. So these two equations you will get for velocity. So U and W you will get like this if you integrate twice. Now here you can see there are four constants. So you should be using some boundary conditions. So let us see what boundary conditions we are going to use. And so our coordinate system is like this. X, Y, and Z. At any point here. This is, let's say, UB. This is VB. This is WB. This is UA, WA, VA. This height is H. So, yes. Okay, this height is H. And you have two boundaries here. This is bottom and this is top boundary. So there are two conditions now. These two conditions we can write as boundary conditions. So at y equal to 0, u equal to ub, w equal to wb, at y equal to h, u equal to ua, w equal to wa. So there are four conditions now. So utilize these four conditions to write the velocity components now, eliminating the constants. So if you do that, so we'll write u equal to this is velocity in x direction and this is the velocity profile in z direction. Okay, so these two velocity components you will get. You can imagine here these velocity components. Can you tell me the pressure in this coordinate system? The pressure is a function of what? Pressure, as we told that all assumptions, pressure is not varying with y. So pressure is only a function of x and z. Okay. Similarly, h is a function of x and z, the gap. Okay. Now what about u? Can anybody tell me what about u? U is a function of x, y, and z, because y is there, you can see. Okay. And w is also a function of x, y, and z. So velocities are function of all three x, y, z, where p and h are function of x and z. Now let us go ahead, substitute these velocities in continuity equation. Substitute these two in continuity equation. Let us go back. This is your continuity equation. There are velocities, components, you substitute that in continuity equation. So if you do that, what will find?
Sir, in that, isn't del rho by del t 0 because of steady state condition?
Yeah, we are not using right now steady state. We'll go and finally we'll say that okay, it is steady state. We are going to derive the most generalized form. Okay. So finally we can say we are just deriving in general. Okay. So let us use this U and W in continuity equation. Then you will find, then you can write this in continuity equation. Let me write that. Okay, del Okay, so this is the form you will get if you substitute U and W in continuity equation. Now after this, you integrate this equation with respect to y. So if you integrate this expression with respect to y, and the boundary condition also you use here for W, you use boundary condition. I am writing BC, that is boundary condition. V equal to VB again at y equal to 0 and V equal to VA at y equal to h. So if you use that, then left side will become rho VA minus VB, and right side you keep everything in the integration. So all these expression whatever we wrote just now, you write it again and put it in the integration only. So I am writing again.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, are we assuming del p del x del p del z as constants, or
No.
are they also functions of x and z?
Del P del X del P del Z. I am not
Yes, sir.
getting your point. P is a function of x and z. So del P del x can also be a function of x and z. Is that okay? Means whether I got your point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this is the once we integrate with respect to y, you will get this. I am just keeping the integration. I am not integrating it. Okay. Because I will not straightforward integrate it. Here I will use one integration rule, which is Leibniz integration rule. Which says if it is 0 to s del by del x of any function f x, y, z with dz, then you can write it as function x, y, z till z minus function x, y, h. Substitute h here. So del h upon del x. Okay. This is the form that you will get if you use Leibniz integral rule. By that you can actually take this differentiation out of the integral. So now use this expression or use this here for all the terms. There are 4 terms here, you can see distinctly there are 4 terms. Okay, 4 integrals. Use this integral rule in these 4 terms. So basically you will get 8 terms then, and simplify a bit. So finally you will arrive at, after 2 steps, you will arrive at some expression like this. Okay, you'll finally arrive at this expression. So this is the final form of expression, the most generalized form of expression you'll get for thin film lubrication, similar to Reynolds equation. Okay. Now in this expression again, this is, as we already discussed, is Poiseuille term. These are Couette term. Okay, and this is called squeeze or local compression. Squeeze term and local compression. Okay, now as your friend was discussing earlier, in most of the cases, first of all, here this equation is very much generalized. That means we can have velocity in both x and y direction. This is velocity in x direction. This is velocity, sorry, not y, in z direction. This is velocity in z direction. But in most of the cases, you'll find that WA equal to WB equal to 0. Okay, so it is sliding in one direction, not both direction. At the same time, it will not slide in both directions. So WA equal to WB equal to 0, and most of the cases, this density doesn't vary much. This rho doesn't vary that much. Okay, so therefore it can be taken out from the expression. Then the final form of equation will become so this is the final form of expression that you are going to get. This is not steady state equation, but this is the most generalized form of equation that you can use for thin film lubrication. Now out of this, again, for steady state, nothing should vary with T. So that means the last term will go out for steady state. Okay, you will be left with equation up to this. So this is 2D steady state equation for thin film, and this is also matching with Reynolds. Now go back and compare. You will see. I want you to check this. This is 12. This is 12. Okay, this is 2. This is the average velocity. Velocity UA at the top layer, velocity UB at the bottom layer. So average velocity of the fluid. So now we go back to Reynolds equation that we derived earlier. So if we go back to Reynolds expression here, So there is no 12 here. There is no 12 here. Here we have 6. Now what is this U? So for Reynolds derivation, what we took actually U. U is actually UA. That is the top velocity. U we took at UA. Okay. Now let us compare. So there is no 12 in the left side, right side it is 6. So let us go back. Acha, let us come back here. Let's see. So there was no 12. So if you take 12 to right side, so it is becoming like UA plus UB by 2 into 12. Okay, which is equal to, of course, so UB is 0. So only UA is there. So 12 UA by 2, which is 6 UA. And of course, there UA is equal to capital U. So it is becoming 6 U. So it is exactly same as your Reynolds equation that we derived earlier. So sometimes you can write actually this UA UB by 2 equal to average velocity U, or it is up to you. You can just write UA equal to capital U, where UB equal to 0. Okay, so it is up to you how you write. Now let us see, we have our expression for this thin film lubrication. So what about finding the parameters? What we basically need in a bearing in a thin film lubrication? So we need to find out the load capacity, how much load it can carry, how much load the thin film can carry, and you need to find out what is the flow of lubricant, so that how much lubricant you have to supply, that also you have to see. And also you have to find out the friction in the bearing. So how do you basically find that? Now let us go back to the derivation. In these derivations, so of course load W, as we discussed, supported that you can integrate your pressure. This is very standard over the area, whatever area available. Okay, so this is the area integration. Now this P will come after solution of this equation. Once you solve this equation, you will find out this P. Now everything depends on this P. First you have to solve this expression, find out P. Once you find out P, you can very well find out the load that it can support, which is called as also load capacity of a bearing. Now we'll see while solving problems or going ahead with examples. So now let us see how to find out the flow. So let us see flow. So again, the velocity components that we have in hand from the derivation, if you see, okay. So here I am assuming that your U and W, UA equal to WA equal to WB equal to 0. No velocity in Z direction. So from these two velocity components, now you can find the flow at any section, like earlier, Qx equal to integration 0 to h U dy, Qz integration 0 to h W dy. So use U and W expressions. So ultimately you will get Qx equal to Okay. So these are two expressions for flow in x and z direction. Now let us see the calculation of friction. So before calculating friction, you have to calculate shear stress. So as we already did, so tau x, you know, like eta del u upon del y. Similarly, your tau z equal to eta del w upon del y. So use now the velocity components u and w here. So tau x will become and tau z okay. So these are two stresses, shear stresses in x and z direction. Once you find out the shear stress, then you should be able to find out the friction force. So F equal to, you know, integration tau x dA. Okay. So this tau x will be different. So friction force, if you are going to find out, you have to find out the friction force at the solid fluid boundaries. So you have now two solid fluid boundaries at bottom and top. So tau x will be different and bottom and top. So tau x different at y equal to 0 and h. So then if you substitute the value of y in tau expression, then you will get tau x at 0 and h minus plus okay. So if you take y equal to 0, then it is minus h by 2 del p upon del x. If you take y equal to h, this is plus h by 2 del p upon del x. Now we find out the friction force F at y equal to 0 and h. So again integrate it. Integrate this tau expression minus plus okay. So this is the expression for your friction force. So basically you will find two values of friction force. So which you should consider? Do you have any idea? One will be larger, one will be smaller. Anybody have any idea?
Larger value.
Obviously you have to consider the larger one, which we normally do for designing anything. Okay. Now this is all about thin film lubrication. These are the basic equations that we are going to use now on from our next class onward. So
Sir,
yes.
how do you integrate that expression for F? because we don't know the function for
We'll
tau.
know. See, the derivation that I have shown here, it is very general. Okay. So first thing we'll see that in next classes that everything depends on solving this problem, right? See this expression, right? So this expression has P. Acha, what is the input output of this expression? Can you tell me? Can anyone? See, this is a differential equation. In this differential equation, you have to solve this differential equation for a specific geometry, right? Specific input condition, and then you get some output. So what are the inputs here? Can anybody tell me? This is a 2D differential equation.
H theta.
Yes, go ahead.
UA, UB, H, and
U
Fluid
is
property.
not input.
H and
Let me
eta.
write it. No, it's not like that. U is not input. Input eta is constant. So basic solution domain as any geometry, it will be X coordinate system, Y and Z. Okay, this is the basic solution domain, means how you define this X, Y and Z, and then you have to find out the input is H, film thickness. So film thickness as a function of X and Z. Okay, this is the major input. Of course, as you are saying, eta and U, these are constant. These are specific to the type of lubricant to be used and type of operation. Suppose you are using a journal bearing at power plant, so it has to rotate always at 3000 rpm. So U can be calculated very well from that, or depending on the type of machine element. So this U will be constant, capital U. Now this is the H, which is varying, and the solution domain is X, Y and Z. So if you utilize that, then you will get P final output. This is input. So final output will get P as a function of X and Z. This is your output from the expression. So right now, whatever derivation we did not take any function, actual function H. We just kept H as it is. When you take actual function H for a specific problem, then you should be able to find out this P and you should be able to solve the problem. Also, you should be able to find out everything, this friction. So only thing is that this H and P, once you use the H, you will get P, and you use the P here, then you should be able to find out for that specific problem. So now on we'll see specific problems. So this 2D steady state expression that I'm showing here, this 2D, it is not possible for us to solve this expression for any problem in pen and paper. Still we have to go for numerical analysis if it is 2D. But there are some specific problems where we can again assume something and make this expression as one-dimensional. So if you make it one-dimensional, then you can readily solve in pen and paper. So let us see in those one-dimensional cases. So this one-dimensional case, you can make like this, infinitely long in Z direction. What do you mean by that? This is X, Y, Z. Okay. So let's say you have this is a bottom plate which is fixed, and there is a top plate, let's say, on top of it. having a gap of h in z direction, sorry, in y direction. This is in y direction, h. So I'm just drawing an isometric view, trying to draw. So this is h in y direction, gap. So this h can vary throughout the gap. So imagine this is called length. Z direction is always called length. This is infinite. And this is x direction. X direction is finite. And z direction is infinite. Infinite means basically it is very, very large as compared to h direction. So if it is infinite, then there will be not much variation in z direction. So in that case, what you can do, you can get rid of z variation. If you get rid of z variation, this term will go. Okay. So then the remaining expression will be a one-dimensional expression. This is for specific cases where you will find problems having length is very large as compared to the diameter of the bearing or as compared to the sliding axis, sliding direction. Problems, more specific problems we will see in the next class. So this is becoming 12u del h upon del x. So this is one-dimensional steady state equation which can be used for cases where it is infinitely long in z direction. So again you can also simplify it to make it a governing equation, like integrate it with respect to x. So then it will become if you integrate with respect to x, you will find expression like this where c1 is a constant. So in this particular case of infinite long, this is x direction as I say. So x direction has two ends, but z direction doesn't have any end. So no side leakage, no end, nothing in z direction. It is infinite. So x direction has two ends. So it is obvious if it is having two ends. So pressure is 0 here, pressure is 0 here. Okay. So in between, we are not sure because it is not problem specific. In between, we do not know at this point, but pressure is increasing and it is decreasing. That is for sure. But what kind of exact profile it is taking, that will come from the solution. But it is sure that left hand it is 0, right hand it is 0. It is increasing. Okay. And it is decreasing, again becoming 0. It may not be I mean slope will change here at the top point, del p upon del x will be equal to 0. You can understand at the top point. Okay, slope will change. So at the top point, del p upon del x equal to 0. But this may not be the center of the x direction. This may not be the center of x direction. This may be higher than x by 2 or lower than x by 2. So let us imagine at any point where x equal to xm, there your h is also a function of x, so h equal to hm, some point, some hypothetical point. There of course you will find del p upon del x equal to 0. The pressure is changing. Then if you utilize this boundary condition, h equal to hm, where h equal to hm, del p upon del x equal to 0, this expression will become like this: del p upon h minus hm. So this equation can be used as a governing equation for all one-dimensional cases to start with. Okay, or else if you would like, you can also start from here. because one step derivation only. You can start from directly from here also. There is no issue. Okay. If you use from here, so you can avoid actually 1 or 2 steps. That is all. Otherwise, both the expressions are same. So we'll see in the next class how to utilize this expression to solve actually real problems. So that is all for this class. So any doubt if you want to discuss? Okay, so if you do not have any doubt,
Sir,
yes, please. Go
sir,
ahead.
during the derivation, we assume WA equal to WB equal to 0.
Yes.
So is it only true for the boundary condition or in between also?
No, not in between. You go back to the expression. This is very important. Not in between. See, even you are assuming that the ends, okay, this WA, WB equal to 0 at the ends. Fine. See the expression here. Okay, it is varying throughout the fluid film. As I said, W, U is a function of x, y, z throughout the domain. W is a function of x, y and also z throughout the domain. Only at the boundaries we assume that this to be 0. Okay, but for some special cases, imagine you can use also the value of WA, WB depending on the type of case.
Okay, sir.
So any doubt? Anybody else? Okay, then we'll meet next class tomorrow. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.